Hello everyone and welcome back to Football Manager 2019 in another part of this experiment where we're taking a look what would happen if a non-league team had unlimited money, £1 billion, however you want to look at it. They have had over or just under £1 billion and at the moment they are sitting on £668 million. Their sugar daddy is an underwriter. We're going to make him a front end sugar daddy and we're going to go forward about 10 years because at the moment they have just finished bottom of the Premier League. You can see them here, 18 points. It was ridiculous how low their points total was. I think we worked out at £8 million per point for the amount of money that they spent, which is just, I mean, you'd have to spend probably 800 million to end up on you would spend 800 million to finish on 100 points, so not the most economically wise investment by the club there, but their national reputation is not great for a team in the Premier League. They've only been in there for one season. They're going to have to come back into the Premier League and hopefully start to climb up the table. Now, going 10 years ahead from this point with them in the Premier League and the money that they can spend there, I would expect them to be in and around the European positions. I would like to see them have a challenge on one of the domestic competitions. I don't expect them to win the Premier League or the Champions League in the next 10 years. But what I'm going to do is keep on giving them their front end sugar daddy. I'm not going to give them any more money than the original billion that I gave them at the start of this experiment. But we are just going to jump straight ahead 10 full years and then start to look through their league positions, their squad schedules, the transfers each year. And we're going to see if they can finally make some of their expenditure pay. Well, we are now 10 years into the future. They're back in the Championship after where they left off in the Premier League on 18 points. Their start to the season, not brilliant, losing quite a few games actually. They did draw with Newcastle on the opening day, but two back-to-back 3-1 defeats will not have helped their position. And they were knocked out of the Carabao Cup by West Brom 3-1. That result there quite early. They were dispatched really. They did get a couple of 3 straight victories before then going on a really poor run of form, and then they got 5 straight victories. A nice run there, but again a couple of defeats getting in the way, and then their end of the season looks pretty poor actually. Just these 4 wins on the row, but then they didn't win. What is wrong with this team? At the end of the season they just seem to totally capitulate, and you can see that year they did spend 66 million, but they actually had a net income of about £13 million. And if we look at the Championship table, you can see they missed out on the playoffs. They were a decent little way off them. If we have a look here, 66 points. West Brom had 78. They were 12 points away from the playoffs. And so they are still in the Championship for yet another year. Now, if we go forward to the following season, still in the Championship, a much better run this time, only a couple of defeats early on, a lot of victories along the way. Made it to the Carabao Cup 4th round after beating Leicester 2-1 in the 3rd round, beat Preston, and then in the quarter-final they actually overcame Southampton on penalties to make a Carabao Cup semi-final in the Championship. That is a good result, but they were beaten 2-0 by Chelsea at home after getting through in the FA Cup against Leeds, and then in the return leg again beaten 2-0 at Stamford Bridge. So they didn't make the final, but kept going in the FA Cup through to the 5th round before losing to Norwich, having just beaten them 3-0 at home. They then lost 2-1 in the Cup. But focusing on the league, they seem to do really well. They did make it to the playoffs this time. 2-0 win over Huddersfield away from home. And then at home a 2-2 draw. It looked a little bit ropey when they were 2-1 down. Another goal for Huddersfield could have knocked them out. But then in the final at Wembley, they won 2-0. Jordan Gilby with the 2 goals, including the 89th minute to win it in front of 88,000 fans. A very, very good performance, getting them through back into the Premier League. Now, if we look at how much money they spent to do that, again, a net income of 22 million. They keep on bringing in the cash in the Championship because they have to balance the books down there. And then looking ahead to the Championship table the following year, they did finish in 4th place. They were 8 points off automatic promotion, but 6 points clear of the playoff positions, or missing out on the playoffs. So they did all right. Not the best finish in the world for a team that were in the Premier League not too long before that. But if we go forward again in the Premier League once more, it's a familiar pattern. That is a horrific screen. Right up until the end of the year, they had only won 1 game, and it's away against Newcastle, out of the Carabao Cup on penalties to Swindon. That is horrific. They did get a few wins here. They beat Leicester and Leeds. They even had a 2-game unbeaten run. Another 2-game unbeaten run after beating Wolves as well. But there's only one way this is heading. They did beat Arsenal 2-1 away from home. That is a result. And then beat Leicester 2-1 at home. I don't know if that was some sort of late push to try and save in the Premier League. Bearing in mind, they didn't spend an awful lot of money here. 33 million, 19 million coming in. And looking at the Premier League, you can see they did finish bottom of the league, well away from safety. It's 5 points better than they got the time before that, but it means they're back down into the Championship for another year. This time around, though, they're a bit stronger. They've done very well, a good start to the year. There's a few defeats in here. Knocked out by Bolton in the Carabao Cup, but through in the FA Cup against Newcastle, who they keep playing. A hat-trick for Adam Hearsay. A draw with the Borough in the FA Cup before getting knocked out, but they did well in the Championship, and I'm pretty sure that led to automatic promotion. Again, they've raised a lot of cash. They're not strengthening the team necessarily, they just keep on selling players, and they did finish in second place, missing out to Bolton there on the title. 99 points, they were not far away, 3 points away, but they only actually got promoted by 2 points. Imagine getting 97 points in the Championship and finishing 4th. That is what Swansea did. That is very unfortunate for them, but a tough year even to get in the playoffs there. That's really, really bad. And so they did manage to get back into the Premier League yet again. This time it looks a bit more encouraging. Still a lot of defeats on the screen, and their victories are coming in the Carabao Cup. But they beat Brighton. It was a tough start to the year. Liverpool and United away early on. Beat Palace as well in the league. Out of the Carabao Cup to Cardiff, but victories over Everton and Leicester in a row. Also beat Newcastle, who they keep on getting points from. 3-1 win in the FA Cup. Including a 2-1 win over Manchester United, an 89th minute winner in the Premier League before getting knocked out by Norwich in the FA Cup. A couple of late wins, including against Man City 2-1, then Wolves away. 2-1 win against Newcastle again away from home. I have no idea if they stayed up actually. They did go and spend £186 million. They should definitely be staying up after spending that much money. Bringing in quite a few players. Francisco Salinas, who's now at Celtic. Fidel Duarte, they signed from a Chinese club. I bet he was on high wages. Jimmy Parker from Huddersfield as well. But if we go forward and look at the Premier League, that was the year that they were missing. They came back and they survived by 5 points. 29 points for Bolton, 25 for Newcastle, and just 19 for Leicester. They got lucky there. 34 points would relegate you most seasons. But they've managed to stay up, and that means they get another season of spending a huge amount of money. So if we look at that next season, then you can see, again, this looks quite similar to last year. Doing all right in the Carabao Cup. Before getting knocked out to Newcastle, interestingly enough. But a 6-0 defeat to Liverpool there is quite embarrassing. They were down to 10 men early on, beaten 3-0 by Spurs away from home quite early on as well. But then they had a little unbeaten run where they did beat United 3-1 at Old Trafford. They also drew with Arsenal at home. And then a few more wins here, including against Leeds. Out of the FA Cup to Stoke, but a 2-1 win away from home against Swansea. It's a difficult season, this. They did get wins over Wolves, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace and Leeds. That was 12 extra points from their last 7 games. So did that help them stay up? Now, they'd got out and spent 57 million, a net spend of about 40 million. And it led to them finishing in 14th place. That's not bad. 44 points. The extra 12 points, though, if they hadn't got those, they'd be on 32. They still would have survived. They were safe for a little while. Which is good. It's showing they're a bit more stable. United finishing down in 10th place and West Ham winning the league. How long's that been a thing? That's a new thing. Oh no, they won it all the way back here and I missed it. Liverpool with a few titles, but West Ham have come out of nowhere to get 2 Premier League titles. And at the moment, Chelmesford struggling to stay up there. Spurs actually won the title ahead of West Ham. Wolves in 3rd place. This is a turned over league system, it has to be said. But if we go back and look at their 3rd consecutive season in the Premier League, they're getting a little bit more established, but a few more defeats here as well. They are not yet in the right place. 1-0 win over Chelsea at home is a good result. They beat Bolton, Huddersfield, Watford, knocked out of the FA Cup by Birmingham. Wins over Arsenal at home 2-1 and United again 2-1 at Old Trafford. That's the second year in a row they'd won at Old Trafford. 5-0 win over Bolton. definitely their biggest ever Premier League win. But was it enough to stay in the league? They'd spent 74 million, brought 59 in, a lot of players going out on loan there. But was it enough to stay in the Premier League for another year? It was. 13th place. United are dropping off a cliff. But 49 points, well safe from relegation, 18 points clear. And they could start to look more up the table than down the table based on this. That year, Liverpool won the league. Again, Liverpool, Spurs, West Ham and Wolves in the top 4. Brighton in 5th as well. Man City down in 6th. Arsenal 8th. Chelsea 9th. And United 12th. That is a strange old league table, it has to be said. The following season, again, doing all right. There's a lot less red on the screen. They've only lost 3 league games on this entire screen. That is a huge step up. They lost to Wolves 2-0, but victories over Newcastle, Arsenal, Charlton in the Carabao Cup. Got through to the 5th round, actually, beating Watford as well. Victory over Liverpool 2-1 there. Draw with West Ham as well, who are doing well. Unbeaten run here, but not the biggest points return, it has to be said. Knocked out by Swansea on penalties. Out of the FA Cup to City, but a lot of victories here. This is quite encouraging. They could have finished in the top half on the back of that. And they had gone out and spent 159 million, 130 million raised, 63 million for this guy going to Leeds, who are spending a lot of money. 63 million on him, but 90 million spent on Ronstedt Kandem, who is now at PSG, so he must have been a very good signing for them. But if we go forward and look at that league table, they did end up finishing in 13th place, so 47 points. Again, not quite making it up there, which is strange, really. Well, have I gone too far ahead there? What year are we in here? This is the 48-49 season. I've definitely gone too far ahead there. Let's go back to the 48-49 season. This is that season. They finished 12th. So Spurs won the league. The year before that, City had won the league. Well, they actually finished down in 17th. 33 points. Only just staying up. So that was the year before. There we go. That makes a bit more sense. So that year they only finished on 33 points. 1 point clear of Bolton. But then the following season they did finish in 12th with 51 points. Not far away from the top half there whatsoever. An extra win and they would have finished all the way up in 10th place, top half, and they would have been above Chelsea United. That would have been a really good season. But then we're nearly at the most recent season. 2 seasons still to go. You can see this one didn't go too well. They did get through to the Carabao Cup before getting knocked out in the quarterfinal by Liverpool. A few wins in the league, but not many big scalps in there. They had a good run here. 5-0 over Halifax in the FA Cup before being knocked out by Newcastle, but a good end to the season will have helped them remain in the league. If we look here, they spent 250 million. That's a huge amount of money on one player here. Birigui was a 104 million pound signing. But looking ahead at the league season, they did end up finishing in 13th again. They are very much the 13th place team, always finishing around 50 points, not really going anywhere despite all the money they're spending in the league. And the following season, the most recent season, a lot more green this time around. Some good victories in the league. Doing well in the FA Cup as well. Got through to the semi-finals before losing to Liverpool 2-1. A late goal sinking them, really. And a poor finish to the season as well. They only won 1 game across about 9 or 10. From here, actually, from the start of March to the end of the season, they only won 1 league game, which is really going to have hit them because they were doing well that season. They did spend 116 million, but a huge amount of money going out of the club as well. And if we look at this league table here, you can see they finished in 13th for yet another year. And that's because of that horrible run. The last 3 months of the season, they lost most of these 17 games there. And they could have finished a lot higher. It's quite unfortunate that that's the way it panned out. But if we have a look at the club's general screen, you can see here they are now a Premier League team. They've been in here for 6 consecutive seasons. 17th, 14th, 17th, 12th, 13th, 13th again. They're always in that bottom half, but not quite relegation scrap now. That's where they've ended up as a club. The club details, reputation's really high now, 7688. If they can get it up to 8,000, they'll be in a European kind of level of reputation. Club attendance is up to 27,000. Finances are okay. They've lost their sugar daddy again. I need to give them that back. I'm also going to up this because this is down at 197 million. I'm going to give them another billion. I'm going to push them up to a £1 billion bank balance. Give them pure cash and see what it does. And I think actually, given where we are in the cycle of this experiment and how many videos we've done already, I'm just going to keep throwing cash at them at this point. I'm going to keep topping up that bank balance, keep giving them the front end sugar daddy until they do win something significant, because I'm getting a bit frustrated at how slow this progress is. Their facilities here, 19, 20, 15, 12, 12, not the best. For some of these. Their training and youth facilities are very good individually though, but their stadium's still very, very small. And if we look at their facilities information, they are due to move to the 30,000 capacity Chelmesford Stadium on the 28th of June 1951. That's in about 11 days time. So it's the same Chelmesford Stadium, but or same name of a stadium, but they are just moving to a new stadium which will be top of the line and hopefully give them better corporate facilities as well, which will help with their income. Doubling the size of their stadium effectively will give them a lot more cash as well from gate receipts, which will allow them to spend even more money within financial fair play. So they're moving in the right direction. It is just taking a really, really long time to get there. If we look at their players in the senior squad, you can see there's a decent amount of value in here. 70 million, 65, 54, 53. Quite a lot of 40 plus £1 million players there. Birigui and Zatinho, the big names. He looks very, very good. 24 caps for his country, Brazil, 12 goals. And Zatinho, also probably Brazilian, 2 caps, 0 goals. A couple of very good Brazilian strikers there. Their wage budget, not out of the realms of possibility for a Premier League team. You'd expect them to be in a lot better for this much money spent on wages, but given the nature of the club, it's not too unsurprising. But I think that is probably going to be it for this episode. I'll just leave you with the landmarks there if you do want to have a look. They've just been floated on the stock exchange and had a new chairman come in and take over, and they failed their financial fair play regulations, which is not ideal. There's a lot of takeover stuff going on, but I think that's because I keep giving them the front end sugar daddy. By the way, actually, if we just have a quick look at West Ham, they're doing even better. They've had 2 league titles. They're bouncing around in the Champions League places. Now they do have a huge reputation, and they have a front end sugar daddy, and their front end sugar daddy isn't going anywhere. There isn't the same level of turnover. They have had a tycoon come in and take over, and I think that's the issue, that until they get a chairman who is a tycoon and can keep pumping money in, they aren't going to keep having as much money. They are going to have to keep selling the club because the consortium does not have the money. So because I'm not actually going into the core data of the club and changing the chairman into a tycoon, I can't sustain the amount of money from that consortium putting the money in, or the chairman putting the money in. It has to be a tycoon that does it, because they're the only kind of chairman that have unlimited money at their disposal. So that's why West Ham are able to win all of these competitions, and they have been doing really well lately. Won the Champions League in 2049. So they have achieved everything that I'm trying to achieve in a much tighter timeline, and they've done it with Baba Rahman in charge, which is even more insulting. So there you go. That's the reason that I'm struggling to do what West Ham have already achieved, and it's because we can't, using the in-game editor, change the type of chairman that the club has. We just have to hope eventually they get a tycoon, but the odds of that are very, very small. So that is going to be it for today's episode. If you would like another part of this, do drop a like on the video. If I do another part, I will be going until they win something of any significance. I'm not going to stop going forward until they win something. I'm not going to stop pumping money in until they win something. They need to win something to win this properly. So if you do want that next part, make sure to drop a like on the video and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. But until next time, see ya.